Very often, life can feel like a mountain, something that we're constantly climbing, trying to get to the top, and yet it feels like we can never reach it. Jusant sort of takes that metaphor and turns it into reality, a game about climbing a mountain. It's a little more forgiving than some similar games like Getting Over It, but I think the core message maybe is the same. Leaving things behind, overcoming challenges, and the fulfillment that we can feel when we get through it. But does that mean it's a game worth playing? Well, let's talk about it. Jusant was a game I heard a lot of talk about, but was never really a game I purposely sought out. It's not really the kind of game I usually like to play. A game about climbing a mountain where the story is mostly told by picking up context clues, fragments. I'm not saying it can't work, and as we'll talk about in this game, I actually think it worked quite well. It's just not the style of game that usually appeals to me. But as is always the case on this channel, it was in a humble monthly bundle or something, and it found its way into my Steam account, and so I gave it a shot. I'm kind of glad I did, too, and I'm glad I stuck with it. If you watched my Games I Played in January video, you might have heard me talk about it, saying that I had started it, but wasn't sure that I was going to actually finish it. I think it opens almost too slowly, and that was kind of a big problem for me. The gameplay is really simplistic. You control your character as they climb up a mountain. Holding down each of the triggers will have your corresponding hand's grip. You let go to make that hand let go, use the right stick to move that hand, and then push down on the trigger to grab it again. It's a little more involved than something like Uncharted and that type of vertical platforming, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's more engaging. If anything, it can almost feel more tedious at times, because it is mindless. Your character will hold on. This game does try to add a little bit of intensity to the gameplay by having a stamina bar that will go down, and as you do more advanced techniques like jumping from one hold to another, your maximum stamina will decrease. However, at any time you can stop and rest to fill the stamina bar back up to whatever its current maximum is. The game also gives you the option to set waypoints, essentially. You can, I don't know the technical climbing term, but you get 3 or 4 of these that you can use during a climb that will anchor you to the spot you're currently at. So even if you do fall or drop, you save your progress. The climbing itself is also very forgiving. I never once found myself running out of stamina or being unable to get to the end of a section of climbing. So all that additional stamina stuff really is just visual performative. It's not really something that impacts the gameplay. The game opens in a pretty standard climb as well. You're climbing up this mountain. You don't really know why, but as you go, you start finding little scraps and pieces of what seems to be a civilization. There used to be people here, and now there's not. As you go, you'll learn why that is and why your character is going on the journey they are. And I actually found it surprisingly engaging. I am not usually one to enjoy the documented storytelling, for lack of a better term, where the story itself is told through these documents that you pick up that you have to read. That's totally, in a sense, optional. If you didn't pick up any of them, you would not know what's going on. But the way it was done in this game really added a lot of personality to this land that you're exploring, and made me invested in both my character and the people that he was trying to help. The mountain itself also expands as you go. The later sections add different mechanics such as heat, which makes your stamina reduce more quickly, wind, which helps you jump farther or maybe works against you in some cases. This is one of those games where the further in you get, the more engaged you become. You start wanting to see what's coming next. You get excited for the later parts of the journey, even though you know those will probably be more difficult and challenging than the earlier ones. I think the game actually handles all this very well. It's a very smooth upward trajectory that you're taking. And it doesn't overstay its welcome. You can climb this mountain in about 4 or so hours. I really appreciated the design of the mountain as well. There are very clear main paths for you to take, but there's also many forks in those paths. There's a lot of choice that you have as the climber. There were many times where I thought, well, I see where I'm supposed to go, so I'm going to go this way instead. There's probably a secret or something that I can go find. And it ultimately ended up being actually a shortcut and a different path up to the mountain. there's a lot of these kinds of scenarios that you can find yourself in. There is still some of that kind of grab onto the yellow ledge that you find with games like Uncharted. I do wish there was kind of a little more vagueness as far as where you could go and what you could grab onto. But again, having those different paths does still add a lot to the game and increases the urge to explore the mountain and explore those different pathways. A game like this, where you are just a single character in a essentially barren world, really lives or dies on its atmosphere. And this game's atmosphere is phenomenal. The music is very engaging, moving, beautiful. And as you're climbing the mountain, just being a part of it is really something. I found myself kind of stopping to enjoy the views or look over at the mountain face or the different villages or homes or locales that I found myself in. You can tell the passion and craft that went into making this world. Ultimately, this is a game that really took me by surprise. It wasn't one that I necessarily thought I would enjoy, and yet I walked away from it really enjoying it quite a lot. It's simple gameplay, it's a simple presentation, but there is so much depth there for you to find as you look into the different collectibles that you can find and as you grow to understand more of the world. And the ending itself is actually very, I thought, impactful. It really wraps the story up well. There's a lot of good foreshadowing where you kind of understand what's going on, but you don't fully understand it until the end. I thought they really handled that well in the pacing of the narrative and the revelations that you get as the character as you learn about the people that used to inhabit this mountain. Jusant really provides a wonderful experience. It's a journey that you really go on yourself as you explore this mountain. At least I did. Starting out with maybe some negativity, some hesitation, some trepidation, but by the end, really fully embracing what I was doing and the story and the journey that I was going on. And I think it's a journey that everybody should go on. But what do you think? Is Jusant maybe not that great? Is this one of the better indie games? Let me know in the comments down below. If you liked the video, be sure to click the like button, let YouTube know. Consider sharing the video, subscribing to the channel, and I will see you all with the next video.